I'm ready. Now what? Many workers were a little happy when I walked to my workplace on the day before the summer bonus payout. I discovered an envelope labeled resignation letter on my desk while considering how I can use my bonus. Maria's voice came from behind me while I was wondering who was responsible. You know you won't get your bonus if you quit today. I gave her a mocking smile and said, "Thanks a lot," relieved that I didn't have to write it myself. I left the company where I had worked for so long after completing the transfer of my responsibilities. I was taken aback by the influx of calls from the customers of my previous company 2 weeks after I launched my current company. I'm Ryan, and I'm 43. I am employed as a researcher at Shoe Consulting, a think tank consulting firm. Our primary responsibilities include researching and evaluating economic trends for businesses in the insurance and general finance sectors, as well as offering guidance on product development and corporate strategy. In actuality, our organization was primarily split into 2 sectors, fact-finding and business consulting. Since I was a student, I have been interested in economics, and I like this job since it lets me spend all of my time with data. However, 6 months ago, everything abruptly changed. The CEO's son took over as CEO after the CEO resigned, and it hasn't worked out well. I would describe the son's management abilities as lacking in comparison to the previous CEO. He introduces ostentatious programs and refers to them as structural improvements. Although I've grown tired of his methods, Maria Brown, who abruptly became the manager of our research department a month ago, is the one person I'm most annoyed with. It seems that the CEO personally recruited her and brought her here. She used to oversee frontline operations for a hotel management business. According to the CEO, hiring a consultant with a strong background from a different industry to lead our research division would add value and fresh viewpoints. It's true that sometimes it's vital to comprehend how different departments operate and take outside perspectives into account. But even if she is a great consultant, it's clear that putting someone from a different industry in a new position won't work well. Actually, our department has been in a state of complete disarray ever since Maria came. Have you finished my training report yet? Yes, I apologize. Even though we had already established solid coordination through pre-meetings and information sharing, it was agreed that both divisions would visit clients or perform consultations together as part of the company's new push. This strategy appeared to be ineffective. Furthermore, the boss mandated that our department receive consulting training because we allegedly lacked real-world experience. However, consulting was not at all part of her training. Maria gave us a serious lesson on how to treat customers with kindness and hospitality. Naturally, it's crucial to treat customers with courtesy and politeness. You truly have a negative attitude and are a useless employee. Respectfully, what you're stating has less to do with the task itself and more to do with mindset. Right now, we don't need to start learning it from scratch. Her worst shortcoming is that she starts yelling and scolding staff members the moment something annoys her. We do our best to follow Maria's directions in order to stay out of trouble. She is still a manager, after all, and more significantly, the CEO approves of her. However, even the tiniest things anger her. She appears to despise my attitude in particular. She told me to come to the conference room after work. Ryan, do you lack motivation? Even though I'm not particularly motivated, I'll do it because it's my job. How disappointing, wow. It makes sense that, at your age, you have never occupied a position of responsibility. Horrible. Maria gave me a smirk. I've never received a promotion, but there's a good explanation for that. I find it disgraceful that she merely imposes her biases without taking into account that everyone has unique circumstances. What's that expression? Why don't you just quit if you're so unhappy? She smirked as she stated this, but I quietly considered what she had said. In any case, I had been considering the possibility of leaving. To be honest, I nodded. Yes, perhaps it's time to give up. You truly have a negative attitude and are a worthless employee. I am in awe." Maria seemed taken aback for a time, perhaps not anticipating my quick agreement. But as soon as she told me that, she gave me a little smile. A week later, I learned what kind of preparations she was talking about. Many employees appeared a little more eager than normal in the morning, as it was the day before the summer bonus payment. For me, it's better to invest any extra money rather than spend it because I'm happy with my current way of life. As I made my way to my work, contemplating how to spend my bonus, I thought perhaps I should look for some high-dividend individual stocks. On my desk, I discovered an envelope marked resignation letter. Maria yelled at me from behind as I was thinking who might have done this. "I'm ready. Now what? What does this mean to you? You are aware that you will not receive your bonus if you quit today. You cannot receive a bonus at our organization unless you are still working on the payroll." She undoubtedly anticipates my pleading to keep the bonus. Maria seems to want things to go her way rather than genuinely wanting me to go. Anyway, I haven't made it clear when I'm leaving, and it's likely coercion to create such a contract without my permission. In addition, I would still receive my bonus if I submitted my resignation today, because you must give 2 weeks' notice before departing. It's probably time to sever ties if the corporation assigns someone like this to lead. I gave her a mocking smile and said, "Thanks a lot," relieved that I didn't have to write it myself. Maybe because I didn't respond the way she had anticipated, Maria's expression contorted for a second. However, she soon feigned a grin and accepted the letter of resignation. "Oh, I see," she said. "I'll keep this." I departed the organization where I had spent so much time after completing the transfer of my responsibilities. Soon after, 2 weeks later, I launched my own company. However, I was taken aback by the influx of calls I received from my old company's clients shortly after that. Let's go back to the previous year. I had arranged to get drinks at a bar with a college mate that evening after a lengthy absence. James Williams is his name. James and I became friends because we worked in the same department. He is gregarious and vivacious, in contrast to my quiet and restrained demeanor. However, we managed to get along and remained in contact when we graduated from college. Nevertheless, it's likely been 10 years since our last in-person encounter. After clinking our draft beer glasses when we arrived at our destination, James began by stating, "I'm thinking about starting my own business." "Oh, I see. That sounds fantastic," he went on. He had a long history of working as a freelance programmer. When I last heard from him, he was building systems and creating apps as a subcontractor for several businesses. I've enjoyed my work so far, but I've started to feel like I want to create and run something from the ground up. This was from the man who once claimed that writing beautiful code was what made him happy. When I said, "You've changed." Actually, though, James has always been an inquisitive and daring individual. His desire to launch his own company came as no surprise. "I've always had this ambition to achieve something big in my lifetime," he stated. "I finally decided on what that is." "Really? Tell me more," I urged him on. James made the utterly surprising statement, "Improving financial literacy in the USA." What? I couldn't help but make a puzzled noise because his statement was so different from what I had anticipated. "Sure, it's something that needs to be done, but knowing you, I thought you'd be starting a game development company or something." We are now in our 40s. I have to think about money a lot because I have a wife and children. He realized that the United States as a nation needed a significant change in financial understanding after conducting research on wealth management and insurance for his personal requirements. First of all, compared to other developed countries, the U.S. has a lot of people with little financial knowledge or awareness, he said. Indeed, financial education did not become required in schools until 2022. Even when people have problems, they find it difficult to talk to others about them because publicly discussing money is still frowned upon in this society. As part of my work, I frequently examine labor and consumer trends, and I've seen firsthand how market volatility and inflation can throw individuals off balance. Sometimes I wish I could share my insights and deliver this data straight to the public, but we give it to financial institutions. I'm very aware of how many folks have financial difficulties. I think it would be great to have a web service where people could comprehensively assess their financial situation, share information with others, and get advice from experts. Yes, you're likely to sign a financial deal that benefits the physical branch more than you if you go there for assistance. It seems wonderful to have a space where you can discuss ideas with people and consider things through quietly. So, Ryan, I want you to start this business with me, he replied. James said something that surprised me. I never thought he would ask me to join him. I had only been listening to his resolve. I take it you're essentially an economic analyst? I'd like to employ your abilities. I would feel much more confidence if you were with me, and it would also be a lot of fun. I remained quiet for a while, considering his unexpected offer. I didn't have any grievances regarding my present position, but I also didn't have any strong reasons to continue till I retired. He sounded like a fun person to work with, as James said. I didn't worry about being left in a difficult situation if reemployment took longer because I had enough assets and dividend income to last for a while, even if we failed. All right, you're my best friend, so I'll do it. As a result, we made steady preparations for our business, including developing the service, putting the system in place, and hiring staff. Maria gave me a resignation recommendation right before we were ready to finish the last testing and launch the service. I could therefore say, I'm fine with quitting with such ease. I finished all the requirements to become a sole proprietor a week after I left the job, and James and I formally launched the company as co-founders. We were excited to start advertising our business, but something unforeseen occurred right before we could get started. The same unknown number began to ring my phone regularly. I initially chose to ignore it, but eventually the tenacity became too much to handle and started to get in the way of my work. I reluctantly chose to respond. Hello, this is Ryan. Hi, tell me what the devil is happening. The caller started ranting at me right away without introducing himself. Pardon me, but with whom am I speaking? What is this about? He seemed to relax a little after I gave him a solid response. He identified himself as an insurance company employee. He sought advice on a new product plan from my former firm, Shoe Consulting, but it turned out to be a complete failure. The woman who was in charge handed him my phone number after he confronted her, stating, "He's the one in charge of everything on our end." Sharing a former employee's information without their knowledge is obviously illegal, and it's more worse if they're attempting to place the blame on me. Why is this Maria lady acting this way? Just make a product that makes customers happy, she advised. We're not searching for guidance that even a child in elementary school might provide. It turns out that Maria was the cause of the issue. She and the consulting team should be in charge of this, though if they're still abiding by the policy from when I was there. The research staff would have at least given her instructions on how to get the relevant data, even if she doesn't teach them the practical side of things. So why is she offering such naive counsel? I pondered. I hung up the phone after telling him I will investigate. I was no longer involved with them for the time being. I would prefer not to be involved in this, and there was nothing I could do. I was getting angry as my phone rang once again. It came from a different number than the last time. I took the phone since I was truly sorry and thought she could have upset another client. However, the person on the other end was Maria herself. Hey, come back here now. Pardon me? I no longer work for the company. I'm having a lot of problems because of what you did. I simply kept that letter of resignation. Thus, you continue to work for us. Now return here and make this right. Her irrational requests made me sigh. Under civil law, employees have the right to resign even if their letter of resignation has not been accepted. They can do so without the company's permission, provided certain requirements are met. In addition, I departed on good terms because the employer has already accepted my resignation. I'm not interested in it. You're being so self-centered. Maybe you were the only one who was unaware, and you were the one who initially acted selfishly by composing my letter of resignation. I could tell Maria was annoyed when she heard me politely assert myself. What do you require from me, then? I believe that a certain amount of respect is necessary if you want anything from me. Why must I humble myself in front of you? I am the manager. She continues to attempt to establish her power despite my repeated assurances that I am no longer employed by the company. To start with, what sort of boss is someone who doesn't even work in the research department as a researcher? After giving it some thought, I still believe that the present CEO doesn't fully comprehend the organization's structure or goals. I'm happy I quit the enterprise early. I do, however, feel bad for abandoning my clients, juniors, and former coworkers. Why Maria is acting erratically on her own intrigues me. She will probably continue to harass me if I ignore her. All right. I'll stop by and see what's going on. Reluctantly, I consented and gave James a quick rundown of the circumstances. You have a genuine piece of work entangled with you. I can handle things here by myself for the time being, so don't worry. Thank you. It's a waste of time to have to deal with this when it has nothing to do with business. I got into my car and drove into the shoe consulting office building while muttering grumbles. Maria was firmly standing in front of the service entrance as I got closer to the building. She began yelling as soon as she saw me, as though she was about to seize me. Hey, you quit and left the company in a mess. I've told you before that I didn't quit on a whim, and you're the one who messed things up first. I almost shot back. However, I remained silent. Attempting to argue with her is pointless. It would be like attempting to pour water on a stone. All I want to do is finish this and get out of here. So, what is the current situation exactly? She began talking passionately, as though she were the tragic heroine, full of her own thoughts, when I asked her to explain. In conclusion, the company was understaffed since the majority of the workforce, aside from the executives, went on strike over their displeasure with the previous CEO. One of the researchers told her, "It's because of you that Ryan left, and now the department is even less coordinated," which is why she blamed me for leaving. Since she was immediately held accountable, she has been placing the responsibility elsewhere rather than on herself. According to her own perspective, Maria alone carried on with business as usual, while the executives reportedly spent their time attempting to explain the issue to clients. The business is undoubtedly in ruins. You must look after the data since I am the sole one managing clients. Pardon me? Apologizing to the staff and encouraging them to return would be more beneficial. She is still attempting to handle the consulting work alone despite this circumstance. It's obvious that she wants to use me as a tool to get what she wants. I made a sensible proposal, but she was incensed. How come? Why should I say I'm sorry? I did nothing incorrectly. Her arguments sound no more sophisticated than those of a fifth grader, despite the fact that she is in her 50s. In reality, as one insurance business employee had noted, real elementary school students might be more rational and sensible in their choices. She continued to yell despite the fact that we were outside the office building, attracting attention from onlookers. She should give me a break, please. All right, you want me to handle it, don't you? I forced myself to be happy, and when I smiled at Maria, her countenance instantly brightened, but I wasn't pleased. I'll need some time, but I'll make a nice, tidy manual or something. All right. I stated I would make some nebulous product that would be as useless as if I had heard the same thing. She nodded enthusiastically, clearly happy. It's a relief. I must have it by the morning of tomorrow. Maria hurried back into the building after saying that. She seemed to expect me to do everything for free, and the deadline was absurdly short. As I drove back to my office, she pretended like I was volunteering or something, which infuriated me. What sort of handbook should I give her now? When I returned to the office building we had hired for our company's headquarters an hour later, I gave James the rundown. That sounds really crazy, wow. Yes, given how disorganized everything she says and does is. I thought I would give her something just as erratic. Then I explained the strategy I had devised on the way back. That sounds like fun. I'm game. I can quickly whip that up. I'm sorry to force this upon you. Don't worry. Until this issue is resolved, I am unable to concentrate on our belongings. I tried contacting several of my old coworkers while James went to work. Luckily, I still had some of them's personal numbers, so I gave one a call. Hey, Chief. It's been a while. As I've previously stated, don't call me Chief. In addition, I left the company. Therefore, I'm no longer even a researcher. You were always acting like a leader, even though you obstinately continued to be an ordinary researcher. The same thing applies. I never wanted the authority, but I didn't mind taking on the duties. It is simply inconvenient. In truth, I had always served as the research department's de facto leader. I adamantly declined any formal title because I believed it would restrict my options and encourage lethargy. It might have appeared that the department lacked leadership from the outside. The current CEO may have chosen to assign a management to that department for that reason. I'm phoning with reference to your business. I've heard that you're on strike. He said, yes, we plan to confront management directly, and gave the name of one person. It's a smart concept. If they act, things ought to start getting better. I hung off the phone, happy that the company's basic problems might finally be resolved. All I had to do now was take care of myself. Hey, it's done. James completed the task I had given him before I realized it. Many thanks. You're as quick as ever. Do not undervalue me. It only takes 3 minutes to finish this easy program. As he printed the finished product onto some copy paper, he moaned a little. I took it, put it in an envelope the size of an F4, and sealed it. All right, everything is prepared. I am eagerly anticipating tomorrow. I returned to my previous employer the following morning. I had told them about my visit beforehand because I didn't want to waste any time. Maria was agitated and uneasy as she stood in front of the structure. She came running over as soon as she saw me, like though she wanted to hold on to me. I've been holding off for ages. This is a serious problem for us. I apologize for the wait. I've promised you this. I laughed rather than became irate at her haughty demeanor, as like my schedule didn't matter at all. The notion of how she might respond when she realized what I had truly brought her made me laugh. Maria smiled smugly as she grabbed the letter out of my fingers. Do you need me to show you how to use it? I don't require your assistance. I can read it and figure it out. What do you think I am? She was stupid, in my opinion. She had previously acknowledged that her computer skills were so poor that she had to rely on other staff members to complete her papers. She is incapable of comprehending the source code of computer applications. I apologize for the wait. I've promised you this. Maria rushed back inside the building before I could say anything more. Knowing she would call me shortly, I went back to the parking lot where my car was and got in. 5 minutes later, my phone was ringing loudly inside the car. What the hell is this? Marita started screaming before I could respond. I kept my cool and held the phone a little more away from my face since the harsh tone was intolerable. What seems to be the problem? I can't read this. After her previous assurance that she understood it, her voice became considerably softer, and it was obvious that she was ashamed. You said you could figure it out just by reading it, right? I can't possibly read this. It's just a completely jumbled mess of symbols and English. How could you have given me such a worthless item? You are obviously incompetent. I had intended to make it into an easy-to-use manual application, but I was pressed for time and had to provide it to you in that state. I'm sorry, but that's the source code, and if you run it on a computer, it will function flawlessly. The explanation of running out of time was obviously a fabrication, but the program would function as intended. How am I supposed to deal with something like that? Maria mumbled, her voice growing weaker. Are you unable to accomplish it? I can if you just show me how. I understand. To begin, you must first create a new HTML file in a source code editor. She gave up before I had even finished explaining. I'm not able to. I can't possibly do that. You do it yourself when you come here. As I said, I'm no longer affiliated with your company, so I can't enter without permission. I'll obtain authorization. Just arrive here as soon as possible. After saying that, she quickly ended the call. I thought it was okay, even though I hadn't intended to do that much. When she sees what a mess she's in, I might as well go check how she looks. I got out of the car and started back toward the office building after suddenly feeling a little excited. After providing my name and receiving a visitor's identification at the desk, I was informed that Maria was waiting on the second floor. I hadn't entered the facility in a long time, and it was eerily silent. It became even more obvious that the majority of the workers were on strike. Maria was seated by herself in a room filled with desks when I ascended the stairs to the second floor. Maria! She whirled around as soon as I called her name, a worried expression on her face. She must be somewhat desperate to drag me all the way here and rely on that enigmatic program. After all of her careless acts, she is most likely feeling pressured and attempting to find a way to save the day. Hurry up and fix this. Sure, it'll be fine now. Maria breathed a sigh of comfort as I gave her some flimsy promise. She is, in a sense, incredibly carefree. Thanks to James, I had actually prepared a USB drive of the program ready to start in anticipation of this. So I feigned typing it in while looking at the printed source code. To make the code on the page appear substantial, it was purposefully made long and full of superfluous and redundant lines. I couldn't possibly type everything in by hand. Okay, it's finished. Feel free to run it. Maria eagerly pressed the app's start button in response to what I had said. Maria was taken aback by what she saw on the TV. What is this? On the screen, a sizable picture of a yellow rubber duck toy was rotating. Other than that, it was worthless and meaningless. Are you certain that what you just did wasn't an error? Or perhaps there was a virus on the computer? If you're not aware, this duck is used to help solve problems, I replied, trying not to laugh as I saw Maria become more alarmed than I had anticipated. One of the most well-known jokes among programmers is to explain your problem to it. An irony? Here, I'm actually working. How much longer will you continue to play tricks on me? I could say the same to you. I suddenly stopped smiling and gave her a direct look. My abrupt change to a low tone seemed to worry her a little. When I was still here, you caused a lot of trouble for everyone. Furthermore, I'm under no duty to assist you. Oh, hurry up. You could at least support me in times of need as a former coworker. Furthermore, you must be free because you recently left the organization, right? Her patronizing comment shocked me so much that I sighed deeply. Remember that it was you who wanted me gone. By the way, thanks for that. I was already getting ready to launch a business with a friend, so it was the ideal chance. It's not as if I truly intended to eject you. Was I only being threatened? It's worse than that. I could file a lawsuit against you for improper behavior or coercion, but I'll let you off this time since I'm too busy with my business. I delivered the decisive punch before Maria could continue. Why don't you try communicating your problems to that duck and work on addressing them? The technique is really quite successful. What? Stop making jokes. Oh, and perhaps you ought to practice saying sorry to the duck. It's likely that the staff will be returning shortly. I left Maria standing on the floor, looking surprised and bewildered. The staff members came back with the old CEO as I was leaving the building. The researcher I had phoned earlier later told me what had happened to Maria and the others. First, The company's leaders, including the former CEO and his father, ousted the current CEO of Shoe Consulting. The old CEO returned to his position. The CEO clarified, "When my son wanted to take over, I was thinking about retiring due to my advanced age and deteriorating health." His son, however, had no prior experience working for a corporation. He was a world-traveling backpacker who lived off of ad money and other sources while blogging about his adventures. Despite some reservations about his lack of business expertise, the CEO chose to give him a chance since he thought his varied background would enable him to effectively guide the next generation. However, his poor leadership ultimately caused a great deal of staff resentment. When asked why Maria was hired, the CEO cited the hotel's outstanding hospitality, particularly from the front desk employees. It was entirely from the viewpoint of a traveler, and I have a suspicion that he considered hospitality and consulting to be practically synonymous. I really apologize for my terrible decision in losing such a gifted employee as you. The coworker personally called to apologize, saying, "I sincerely apologize for that." In reality, it was me who was humiliated by his humility. He said he would give his son a thorough education in the company's operations before deciding whether to give him the job. Maria, on the other hand, became a liability to the business and was utterly rejected by the staff. After a while, she made an attempt to depart and go back to work at the hotel. But as it happens, she was unable to return. She was apparently the daughter of the CEO of the hotel company and had been using her position to influence the employees. Even her father was powerless to protect her when the workers threatened to go on strike again after learning that she intended to return. He thereby forbade her from returning. With a victim complex, she has now isolated herself at home and claimed, "I work so hard, but no one understands me. Just because I was a little nice to her when she first came, she must assume that I'm on her side." She even complained about all of this over the phone. I'm considering blocking her phone number. I'm not envious of you. Peace has returned to our life after all that turmoil a month ago. We are once again concentrating on our business of creating services that enhance financial literacy. Even though I researched and evaluated economic patterns in my previous role as a researcher, I was unable to provide consumers with that knowledge directly. However, we are now able to offer insightful comments and even get immediate feedback. This service has helped me think about and take charge of my financial situation, which has significantly improved my quality of life. Is just one of the many positive feedback we've gotten. I believe it's a fantastic beginning for a new company. Even at this age, I've come to appreciate how fun and fulfilling it can be to deal with clients personally. I intend to keep collaborating with James to develop services that enhance people's lives in the future.